Hello everyone and welcome to rural Germany. In today's video we are going to work on the transition between the relatively dense areas in the center of the town that have been built earlier in the series to farmland and ultimately forests with a few house blocks that have more space between the houses in between of it. To start this video off, we are going to be adding one house block next to the central roundabout of the town next to the train tracks. As you also saw, we added a post office next to the roundabout because I felt like such an important service would be in a central location in one of the central towns of the region. I decided to place it here and not in the historical center of the town because this place would be better accessible for trucks that deliver the mail to the surrounding towns. Obviously the concrete needs some detailing, so I'm adding a few stains on here to make it look more realistic. That said, I do need to finally detail that roundabout there because the middle of it, even at the end of this episode, it is still undetailed. We should maybe fix that soon. Okay, so before we continue to building more house blocks, we are going to be adding some parking lots to the side of this part of the street over here. We do that by upgrading the 2-lane road that was originally placed here to a 3-lane road. Then use node controller to make it look like the 3rd lane is really a parking lane. Ban vehicles on the parking lane and use intersection marking tool to draw some parking lots on there. We do that by adding a striped filler on the parking lane, spacing it out just enough so that there is a car length between two different stripes, and adjusting the angle of the filler so that the stripes are perpendicular to the rest of the road. So we're continuing with building the other side of this house block. And while we're doing that, let's talk about stuff that's been happening recently. First of all, thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. Back in February we hit 1k and in just 6 or 7 months time we doubled that. So thank you guys so much. But then the big question, where's my upload schedule? Where have the videos been? Well, first of all, I had a busy few weeks, and when I finally started editing again, the video files corrupted, and then I re-edited the video, they corrupted again. I tried a new editing program that gave a watermark which I hadn't checked before, so I had to re-edit the video again in the old program. So I hope that explains it a little bit why there hasn't been a lot of uploads recently. This video was also supposed to be an extra long episode to celebrate 20 episodes, and later on when I realized that we were probably going to hit 2,000 subscribers somewhere around this upload, it would also become a 2K special. But the only part that corrupted of this video was the second part, which was around 13 minutes, and the first part was also around 13 minutes. So I just decided to put the first part into one video so I at least had something to release to you guys and try my best to make a full video out of that. And then I will work the rest of the content into the next video or even partly the video after that because it's two different topics that I can better match up with some other stuff. The only problem is that in some cinematics you might see a small spoiler of the next episode because I recorded the cinematics after recording the entire extra large episode, but I hope you all don't mind that. Okay, back to the build. Over here we are building a little place in the back of the post office which could be used in various ways. There's not really one specific intention behind this little corner over here, but sometimes you just see that a little patch of asphalt in the back of the houses which can be used to park cars, or for example, if there are bigger packages, it could be easier to unload them over here instead of at the front of the post office, that kind of stuff. We continue with the second block of today's video. This is similar to the one we already built, apart of the fact that this is a little bit bigger and more spaced out, so there will be more garden detailing rather than it being packed with houses. The reason for these two weird blocks that stand out of the rest of the town, you could almost say tentacles, is that these follow the main roads leading out of the town. You see this a lot in Europe, that there's basically the town center and then you have along the main roads, or at least roads leading out of the town, you still have 1 or 2 rows of houses. And it kind of looks like a center with a few tentacles, and that is what we're replicating here. All the houses are placed and it's time for detailing. I won't bother you all this time, so just enjoy some nice music and I'll be back after the time lapse. Alright, so for the next part we are going to do some more garden detailing. Remember how in the last episode we created this detailed bus stop in the middle of the town? Not the one next to the central station, but the other one. I placed some houses around it, but I never detailed the back gardens. And that is what we're doing right now. For these gardens I really wanted to use a lot of different techniques of detailing them, so you will see multiple types of decals, grass decals. A few gardens will be completely filled with bluebells, other ones with higher bushes, to really give a feeling of mixed garden use, because these gardens are the edge of the town, so it will be pretty prominent when looking from a high distance, and I just wanted it to stand out and look good. Okay, now that is done, we continue with the farm fields that will be at the edge of the town. And this is something new, because before I was using the ore and oil texture, which I had set to a farming field texture to paint my farmlands. But for this town I wanted to do something better. What I'm doing now is using a bunch of decals, farm field decals of course, and converting them to PO so I can customize the edges and basically give them every shape I want. Okay, maybe not every shape, but I can at least cut off a bit of the edge or just make them different than just squared. This comes in handy when there's diagonal roads or roads that make curves, which is the case in a lot of European towns and also in our build. It is a lot of extra work and also has a bigger impact on performance than just painting ore and oil areas. But for the towns, I think it really looks better, so I want to keep using it for the more detailed areas. For example, if we need big farm fields where we can look at from the other side of a river to complete a view, for example, I can still use the oil and ore textures, but if it is next to a town, I will use this technique. Here we are creating a little abandoned barn that I can imagine used to be a place to store crops a long time ago, but nowadays with the invention of tractors, the crops will just be transported to a bigger facility somewhere further in the valley where there's more fields. I can also imagine that for the one owning this land, it would cost too much to just destroy this entire barn and make it into farmland, as it is only a small corner and it just wouldn't be worth the investment. So it's just there and nobody really cares about it, nobody fixes it. But from an aesthetic way, it does give something more interesting than just the boring farm fields. And in my opinion, it helps creating the feeling that there's a long history behind everything in this region. As I kind of explained earlier in this video, this episode is by far not covering all the detailing work around the town that needs to be done. The main goal of this video is just to make clear how the rural transition will work for this town. In the next episode most likely, we will finish the town by adding a few more residential blocks here and there, and maybe some other stuff, but I'm not completely sure with that. And then the episode after, we will focus on farming more. This means creating more of these PO fields around the town, as well as adding more nature and that kind of stuff. Because now we really only did one side of the town, there's 3 more sides, and then there's a big part of the valley that has been untouched since the beginning of this series. So there's still a lot left to do before this town and its surroundings is really finished. That said, this is the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and sorry for the lack of uploads recently. I really hope to get back at it again. And there is an interesting announcement coming in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but soon. And yeah, thank you to my patrons and thank you to you all in general for watching, and then I'll see you in the next one, and enjoy the cinematics.